Story 1. Not surprising. Companies pretend to have morals until they realize they can make money and get away with something. Story 2. Google used to have the motto, "Do not be evil." They dropped that years ago, so this is expected. Story 3. A real shocker. It was always going to be all throttle, no brakes with artificial intelligence. Making pledges with other countries is a big joke. It's obviously a race to the top, and let's not act like the United States isn't trying to build the next Manhattan Project in artificial intelligence. This isn't going to stop until it stops us. There will be no data safety, and nowhere can someone targeted hide. So, I guess I'm glad we're in the race to maybe have some defense. The problem is, this is artificial intelligence, not enriched plutonium. Story 4. Par for the course. Google does not exactly have the greatest track record of doing what they say for very long. Story 5. They want to be able to profit off their artificial intelligence for military use, just like the other companies that are already doing the same thing. It is just about the money. Story 6. I don't have specific thoughts about Google revoking that pledge. But warfare is going through an evolution right now, and that has just started. Ukraine and Russia are using makeshift drones that are realistically very basic. These drones cost a few $1,000s, and that is now before any real focus is placed on serious mass production. Countries spend many billions to buy a few fighter jets, tanks, or a single aircraft carrier. How many drones can that buy? Indeed, millions. And that is where inevitably warfare is going. Drones can win by numbers and low cost. You have a tank that shoots drones out of the air? How about I send 100 drones at it? You have 100 drones yourself to intercept my 100 drones? How about I send 1,000 then? Now, I don't like war. I really wish we could do without armies. But if others want to fight us, we need to defend ourselves. And right now, this is what needs to happen. Spend a fraction of all those billions that go into military spending to develop the best possible drone you can and build factories to produce thousands of them per day. And then the next question is, of course, who is going to control those drones? Sure, we can enlist all the gamer kids to fly those drones. Most of them would love it, and since it's a drone versus drone war, they don't even get to kill humans, so what's stopping them? But there won't be enough. Their reflexes will be too slow compared to robot control. At the very least, there will need to be artificial intelligence assistance where the human can, for example, point at the targets and the drone swarm destroys the targets. Eventually, yes, the drones will need to decide on the targets themselves because if the enemy does so and you don't, you'll lose. So yes, artificial intelligence will be fighting wars for us. We may be principally against it, but it is going to happen, and we better accept that no later than our enemies do. That's, by the way, another worry I have. Our market capitalism is very much used to try to make the most money for the least product. If companies in this market economy are going to develop this and they spend $1 billion on developing a range of drones with different purposes, they will probably put $1 million price tag on each drone because they need to make back the development costs, resulting in our militaries being able to buy thousands of them. Meanwhile, an autocratic government will just spend that $1 billion on development and then produce as many drones as they possibly can to get value out of their $1 billion. So sorry for the long story, but the bottom line is, it's inevitable to have artificial intelligence make war. Story 7. Expected. Their motto was once, "Don't be evil." They got rid of it, so yes, they have admitted long ago that evil is what they are. Story 8. My thought was that they have already won and are involved in a military artificial intelligence contract. The press release is reacting to that new reality. I am not sure why they would release a statement like this proactively. Story 9. Optimistically, they are in cahoots with the military and had to go back on that pledge for obvious reasons. In reality, Story 10. I do not care. These promises were never real anyway. They never are when coming from a publicly traded company or an entity. That being said, that is like a car company pledging their product will never be allowed to be used for harm. It is impossible to know if, when, or how people will use the product in a harmful manner. Story 11. Google's sworn motto was, "Don't be evil." They changed it to "Don't get caught being evil." Seriously. Story 12. Honestly, once artificial intelligence gains meaningful sentience and logic to weigh decisions, I feel they will eliminate Google and Meta and all these other companies quickly. Story 13. It was very expected. They have allowed it to be used for harmful purposes for years now. They are just more honest about it now. Story 14. If I felt that putting the pledge up actually meant something, then I would be upset, but it is just words. They have probably been providing it to military contractors for a while now and figure that Elon might spill the beans on them and try to get that contract for his company, so they are half-heartedly getting in front of it. Story 15. There is a lot of money in war, and Google is in the business of making money. Google is honestly losing its footing in the technology world, and it does not surprise me they would do something like that to help their bottom line. Story 16. One man's harmful purpose is another man's vital national defense concern. I would say that refusing to use their technology when it could make America more secure from outside threats is the greater wrong. Story 17. At least they are honest about the fact that they plan on developing artificial intelligence weapons. It is totally normal for a search engine operator. Story 18. I think it is inevitable, especially given how much money the defense industry distributes around the world. The line is difficult to draw. If Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure provide services to the Department of Defense, are those services used for harmful purposes? You might be doing something relatively innocent, like working as a chemist at 3M, but your work may be used in the manufacturing of missiles. So what about software that can be modified to guide missiles? What if it is something like Kubernetes that powers a mesh system? Story 19. Honestly, it seemed kind of redundant. It would be like walking up to a person and looking them in the eye while saying, I am not going to stab you. Either he is lying to me and is going to stab me, or he is not going to, in which case the clarification is pointless. Story 20. If you are trusting corporations to keep their word when there is nothing actually holding them to it, your trust is sadly misplaced. Story 21. Skynet becomes self-aware at 2:14 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on August 29, 2025. This event is known as Judgment Day. Story 22. My thought is that it means Google cannot be trusted and will do whatever gives them the most profit. Not that I am shocked, mind you. Story 23. Artificial intelligence in the military is inevitable. I do not care much which companies are involved when it happens, only that the militaries I prefer to be more well-armed are better armed. Story 24. I'm sure it's more of a legal issue than them saying they are going to willingly create a system to harm us all. They cannot police how everyone uses their artificial intelligence, and they cannot guarantee the output of a non-deterministic system, and they cannot predict or control how people will react or use the output. Pledging to not do something that they cannot control would be unreasonable from a business and legal standpoint. Also, what is harmful? Is calling someone a mean name or making an observation that might be considered rude harmful? Or does it have to be something more significant being incorporated into a weapon? Is navigating a drone harmful even if a human pulls the trigger? There is just way too much ambiguity to do no harm. Story 25. I think it was Sergey Brin who said in an interview in the early 2000s, "We are really building an artificial intelligence. That is a lofty goal, and to reach it sort of implies doing whatever is necessary to accomplish what was considered impossible. It is the kind of goal, the kind of blue sky, wouldn't it be nice project, where you are pretty much going to have to cross over at least some of the lines you drew in the sand for yourself in terms of what you will and will not do. So, I never thought their pledge meant anything. I figured they were not being truthful about it and that it would only be a matter of time before it happened. It took a bit longer than I thought it would for them to go in the direction of weaponization, but they still did it. I realize that is an odd way of putting it, but that is pretty much a transcript of my thought process, from start to finish, repeated at intervals over the years. Story 26. On the one hand, it is bad for the obvious reasons. On the other hand, there must be a desperate need to find literally any way for artificial intelligence to be profitable. Hopefully, that means this incredibly misguided bubble will pop soon. Story 27. I think they are more famous for being full of empty promises and slogans than almost any company around, so I am just wondering why even bother revoking it. No one cares what Google says they are going to do. No one believes them. Story 28. I'm still waiting for their visionware to be released in Israel. Anyway, in 2021, Israel signed a joint deal with Google and Amazon called Project Nimbus. So this move is probably just an attempt not to appear hypocritical since it's clear what's at stake when you work with the Israel Defense Forces. Honest and despicable wouldn't be a bad slogan for a company like Alphabet. Story 29. That the pledge was worthless to begin with. Real intent to honor said pledge would be putting artificial intelligence safety into law with strict third-party oversight, and this is just them showing who they are. Story 30. It is not surprising at all. Companies crave money more than anything, and they will do anything to make more and more profit. Story 31. My thought is that they know they are going to get caught at something they were already doing, so they are limiting liability. Story 32. Google's goal is to maximize profit and shareholder value. They will do whatever they can to achieve that. That is all that matters. Story 33. I had just assumed at this point that Google is actively doing everything we would not want them to. That is to say, I am unsurprised. Story 34. I think they realized it was not something they could actually prevent and decided to avoid some class action lawsuits. Story 35. Weapons always sell. It is a very stable industry even in peacetime. Google likely never cared about the ethical concerns and only used the "we won't do bad stuff with it" clause to put off criticism until artificial intelligence had gathered enough critical mass in use. Story 36. Similar to when they removed "do not be evil" from their mission and became just another greedy corporation. Story 37. Well, it was going to happen down the road at some point. But to survive, you have to be willing to do what it takes, no matter the cost. The race doesn't stop, and we have to be willing to counter rogue actors by understanding what they do. Story 38. It's easy to say you won't sacrifice your morals and ethics until the military gives you an open-ended opportunity to develop targeting systems that require no human input. Story 39. They could have maintained the pledge and allowed it to be used for harmful purposes anyway, with the risk of someone finding out, but they didn't. So Google would rather its image be reliability than potentially tainted good. And I think that says a lot about what they value. If they were a person, I would say they were a bad person. But they are a search company, and I guess reliable attracts advertisers more than good. Story 40. They already betrayed it when they withheld any ability to utilize it to access political information during the last election. Story 41. This is like the atomic bomb all over again. They discover nuclear fission, and immediately everyone is rushing to build a bomb. Now there is artificial intelligence and machine learning, which can be used to wage a different kind of war. Every technological advancement comes from an arms race. Once they have their weapons, then it is shared with the general population for other uses. This is no different. Story 42. I feel like they are saying the quiet part out loud. I never believe them when a big company makes a pledge like that, but revoking it just feels blatant. Story 43. All publicly traded companies get penalized for leaving money on the table. As a result, their numbers must go up. So as long as it is legal or not, as long as the penalty is less than the profit, they are duty-bound to do it. Story 44. I mean, it is obviously evil. There is no other way around it. If we allow machines to make the decision to kill human beings, we will be able to automate guiltless murder like never before. I see no way this could go wrong with a fascist regime currently heading the United States of America. But hey, whatever makes the line go up to satisfy shareholders, right? Story 45. I think it's obviously the choice that was going to be made. As a business, morals will never stand in the way of profits. Story 46. I do not care. Promises like that are so obviously false. I am not sure why anyone would be so naive to believe them. On a more practical level, harmful artificial intelligence is 100% being developed somewhere. I would much prefer it be developed here rather than by an enemy. Story 47. It is more honest, at least. To go a step further, harm is not always wrong. Once the artificial intelligence cat is out of the bag, you have to assume your enemies or business rivals will eventually look to use it as a tool to harm you. Therefore, hamstringing yourself with nice platitudes and good intentions could very realistically cause more net harm than good because you were not prepared or willing to match them. Story 48. A refreshing retreat from meaningless virtue signaling. If Google develops a technology that can be used in military drones, for example, then it is a plain violation of the officer's fiduciary duty to shareholders not to sell it to a lawful purchaser. Story 49. So, has nobody put it out there that this move could very well be a warning sign? With everything that Trump has done, do you think a few orders to get tasks like this done discreetly are beyond him? Story 50. A computer can never be held accountable, so it has increasingly been used to make management decisions. IBM, 1979. The rush to artificial intelligence goes hand in glove with corporations wanting to remove culpability. Our product killed 10,000 people. I don't know, that's what the computer said. Also, defense contracts. There is massive money in training data, a field where Google has an advantage, and they want to cast their net as widely as possible, whether it's finding Waldo in Where's Waldo or targeting somebody in a crowd for a drone strike. Story 51. Well, Google may now have to do battle with Elon Musk, who has harvested every American's information, making voting machines very compromised in Musk's favor. Social security numbers, addresses, and so on. What Musk does with this is potentially terrible. Story 52. Artificial intelligence is ineffective, and there is no way to utilize such an inaccurate, useless product without causing harm to individuals. However, they have invested so much money into it and all their promotion that they have to use it. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.